What I'm about to tell you may completely change the way you take your blood pressure medicine tonight. Because there is one timing mistake with amlodipine, losartan, and lisinopril that looks harmless, sounds logical, and is repeated online every single day. But in the wrong person, it can trigger dizziness, confusion, a dangerous drop in blood pressure, and a fall that changes everything. And the terrifying part is that many seniors make this mistake because they're trying to do the responsible thing. They're trying to take their medicine exactly when they were told was best. But best for one body can be absolutely wrong for another. By the end of this video, you'll know the most dangerous time to take these medicines, who is most at risk, and how to protect yourself starting today. I'm Dr. Eliza Wright, and after more than 2 decades in cardiology, I need to tell you something most people never hear clearly enough. Please subscribe to this channel today because the next few minutes could protect your heart, your brain, and your independence. Now here's the problem. Millions of people have been told some version of this sentence. Take your blood pressure pill at night because that's better for your heart. And for some people, that timing may be perfectly fine. But for others, especially older adults, people who wake up to use the bathroom, people who already get lightheaded, people on more than one blood pressure medicine, or people who are starting a new dose, bedtime can become the most dangerous moment of the entire day. Let me tell you about Elaine, because her story explains why this subject is so much more serious than people realize. Elaine was 73, sharp, independent, still driving, still gardening, still caring for her husband. Her doctor added lisinopril for rising blood pressure. Later that week, her neighbor told her, "Take it at bedtime. That's when blood pressure pills work best." It sounded smart. It sounded modern. So Elaine swallowed her first tablet at 10 p.m., read for a while, fell asleep, and at 1:30 in the morning, she got up to use the bathroom. Halfway down the hall, her vision narrowed, her knees buckled, and she hit the wall hard enough to leave a shoulder bruise the size of a grapefruit. She was lucky. It could have been her hip. It could have been her head. It could have been much worse. And here's why Elaine's story matters so much. The medicine itself was not evil. The prescription was not reckless. The danger came from a timing decision that ignored how her real life actually worked. She already woke up at night to urinate. She already moved a little slowly when standing. She had mild dehydration from not drinking enough during the day. She was also taking another medication that could make her feel tired. Put all of that together, and bedtime was not just a neutral option. It was the most vulnerable time in her 24-hour cycle. That is the secret people miss. When we talk about the best time for blood pressure medicine, we are not just talking about a clock. We are talking about your body, your routine, your balance, your hydration, your sleep, and your risk of getting hurt. Before I reveal the single most dangerous time, you need to understand what these 3 medications actually do, because that changes everything. Amlodipine relaxes blood vessels through calcium channel blocking. Losartan blocks the action of angiotensin II, a chemical that tightens blood vessels. Lisinopril reduces the body's production of that same tightening signal by blocking an enzyme upstream. 3 different paths, but one shared result. Blood vessels relax, pressure falls, and the heart pumps against less resistance. That can be life-saving. It lowers the risk of stroke, heart attack, kidney damage, and heart failure. But if blood pressure falls more than your body can smoothly handle at the wrong moment, what you feel is not heart protection. What you feel is weakness, wobbliness, dim vision, nausea, fatigue, and sometimes collapse. And this is where people get trapped by oversimplified advice. They hear one rule and assume it applies to every person, every age, every dose, and every situation. Morning is best. Night is best. Split them up. Take them all together. That kind of blanket advice sounds clean and comforting, but medicine is rarely that simple. Blood pressure follows a daily rhythm. It often rises in the morning, changes with activity, drops with rest, and reacts to dehydration, meals, stress, heat, alcohol, illness, and sleep. These drugs are also long-acting in many patients, which means their effect is not confined to one magical hour. So the question is not merely, what time is ideal in theory? The question is, at what time are you safest, most consistent, and least likely to experience a dangerous drop or missed doses? Now let me tell you about Warren, because his case reveals one of the biggest hidden timing dangers of all. Warren was 76 and had just started Losartan. He felt fine during the day, so he assumed the medicine wasn't doing much. Then his daughter read an article online claiming nighttime dosing was better, and Warren moved his pill to 9:30 p.m. without telling anyone. 3 nights later, he got out of bed after a deep sleep to answer the phone, stood up quickly, and felt the room tilt. He caught the dresser just in time. The next morning, he told his family, "That medicine doesn't agree with me at night." And he was partly right, but not for the reason he thought. The issue wasn't that Losartan becomes dangerous after sunset. The issue was that his pressure drop lined up with his most unstable moment, standing up abruptly in darkness. That brings us to one of the most underestimated concepts in all of blood pressure treatment: first dose and early dose vulnerability. When someone begins Lisinopril or Losartan, or when the dose is increased, the body has not fully adapted yet. During that adjustment period, some people feel dizzy, lightheaded, or unusually tired, especially when standing quickly. For certain patients, taking the dose in the evening may actually help because they sleep through that adjustment. But for others, especially people who wake at night, have poor balance, or live alone, that same evening timing can turn a manageable side effect into a fall risk. This is why the same instruction can protect one patient and endanger another. Timing is not a slogan. Timing is a clinical decision tied to behavior and risk. If we ignore that, we stop practicing medicine and start practicing superstition. Let's talk specifically about lisinopril first, because it causes more timing confusion than almost any other blood pressure medicine. Lisinopril is often taken once daily, and many people do perfectly well taking it in the morning or the evening as long as they take it consistently. But early on, some people notice dizziness, particularly if they stand up fast, are dehydrated, or are also taking diuretics. That is where bad advice starts spreading. Someone says, "Take it before bed so you won't feel dizzy." Sometimes that works beautifully. Sometimes it prevents daytime lightheadedness. But if you are the kind of person who wakes up twice a night to use the bathroom, if you shuffle in dim light, if you already feel weak when rising, or if you've had near fainting spells before, bedtime may not be protective at all. It may position the medicine's pressure-lowering effect directly inside your riskiest mobility window. Now, Losartan. Many people assume Losartan is so gentle that timing barely matters. And for a lot of patients, it's true that the most important thing is simply taking it reliably at the same time every day, because consistency is what gives you stable 24-hour control. But gentle does not mean risk-free. Losartan can still make some people dizzy when they start, when the dose changes, when they are sick, when they miss meals, or when they are dehydrated. I have seen patients move Losartan from morning to bedtime because they heard night was ideal, only to realize they feel perfectly fine sitting in bed, but terrible at 3 a.m. walking to the bathroom. In other words, they don't discover the problem when they swallow the pill. They discover it when gravity hits, blood pools in the legs, and the brain momentarily gets less pressure than it expects. And then there is Amlodipine, the medication people often think is easiest of all. Because it is long-acting, many assume the clock barely matters. And again, for many patients, the exact hour is less important than routine. But that doesn't mean timing is meaningless. Amlodipine can cause dizziness, fatigue, flushing, or a heavy, weak feeling in some people, especially after dose increases. It can also contribute to swelling in the ankles and feet, which may become more noticeable depending on how long someone is upright during the day. Some patients prefer evening dosing because it reduces awareness of side effects while they rest. Others hate evening dosing because they wake groggy or unsteady. The point is this: even a long-acting drug can create a real-world danger if its peak effect or most noticeable side effects overlap with the exact hours when you're most fragile, distracted, dehydrated, or physically unstable. Now, here is something almost nobody explains clearly enough to seniors. The danger is often not the pill alone. The danger is the pileup. The pill plus dehydration. The pill plus a dark hallway. The pill plus neuropathy in the feet. The pill plus a sleeping aid. The pill plus alcohol with dinner. The pill plus getting up too fast. The pill plus poor vision. The pill plus low sodium. The pill plus a hot shower. The pill plus a stomach bug. The pill plus a skipped meal. That is how people end up saying, "This medicine came out of nowhere," when in reality, the medicine walked into a room full of other risk factors, and all of them started pushing in the same direction. Timing matters because it determines when that pileup is most likely to happen. And in older adults, that pileup very often happens at night. Let me show you exactly why nighttime can become a trap. You take your pill at bedtime. You fall asleep. A few hours later, you wake up to urinate. You stand from a warm bed into a cooler room. Your blood vessels need to tighten quickly to keep pressure up to your brain. But if you are older, dehydrated, or pressure lowered by medication, that response may be slower. So your pressure falls, vision dims, the ears ring, the legs feel empty, you reach for furniture. That whole sequence can happen in seconds. And because it happens in the dark, when the body is still half asleep, people underestimate how dangerous it is until after the stumble. This is why simply telling every person to take Amlodipine, Losartan, or Lisinopril at bedtime is reckless. It ignores the most dangerous event in many seniors' day, the nighttime stand. But I need to be fair, because the opposite myth is dangerous too. Some people hear this and decide bedtime must always be wrong. That is not true. For some patients, morning can be the worst option. Imagine a person who starts Lisinopril at breakfast, then runs errands, showers, bends down in the garden, drives across town, stands in line at the pharmacy, and gets lightheaded every time they rise from a chair. That person may do better with evening dosing because it moves the most noticeable pressure drop away from active hours. So if you're waiting for me to say 9 p.m. is always dangerous or 7 a.m. is always safest, I'm not going to mislead you. Medicine doesn't work that way. The truth is more useful than that. The most dangerous time is not the same for every body. But there is one timing mistake that becomes dangerous more often than people realize, especially in seniors. Before I reveal it directly, you need to hear about the bedtime myth because it has confused millions of patients. For years, people heard that taking blood pressure medicine at night might be superior because blood pressure often rises before waking and because nighttime pressure patterns may matter for cardiovascular risk. That idea spread fast, and it became internet certainty long before it became settled clinical truth. Suddenly, patients were moving pills to bedtime without checking symptoms, fall risk, or medication type. Some even felt guilty if they took them in the morning, as if they were taking their medicine wrong. But later, much larger, more careful research showed something extremely important. Overall outcomes were not meaningfully better just because patients took their usual blood pressure medications at night instead of in the morning. That changed the conversation, and it should change yours too. Large modern studies found no clear universal advantage for bedtime over morning for major cardiovascular outcomes in typical patients taking blood pressure medicines once daily. In plain English, that means this: there is no magical nighttime protection that automatically makes bedtime the best choice for everyone, and there is no strong evidence that every person on amlodipine, losartan, or lisinopril should be moved to the evening. Even more important, later data in frail older adults also failed to show that bedtime dosing delivered some sweeping clinical benefit over morning dosing. That matters because frail older adults are exactly the people who can be harmed by oversimplified timing advice. So when someone tells you night is always best, remember this. The best studies do not support that kind of blanket statement. What they support is something more practical and more personal. Take the medicine when you are least likely to forget and most likely to stay safe. That single principle, least likely to forget, may sound disappointingly simple, but it is not simple at all. It is powerful. Because consistent control beats occasional perfect timing every time. If you take lisinopril at bedtime for 3 nights, forget it the 4th, take it at midnight the 5th, skip it the 6th, and double up the 7th, you have created chaos, not treatment. The body does not care that your intentions were good. It responds to what actually happens. Stable routines protect blood vessels. Irregular routines create swings, confusion, overtreatment, undertreatment, and panic. And older adults are especially vulnerable because they may already be taking several pills, may have changing appetites, may nap, may eat at different times, and may wake up disoriented. So when we ask the timing question properly, we are really asking 2 questions at once. When are you safest after the dose? And when are you most reliably going to remember it? Let me tell you about Martin, because his case exposes another hidden danger that masquerades as timing. Martin was 71 and took amlodipine in the morning most days, but when he forgot, he would take it at lunch. If he forgot again, he'd take it after dinner. If he noticed at bedtime, he'd swallow it then. He told me proudly, "I always get it in somehow." No, he didn't. What he got in was inconsistency. Over time, he started feeling tired, then lightheaded, then fine, then tired again. He was blaming the medication. But the problem was not amlodipine itself. The problem was that his body never knew when the daily dose was arriving. There is a lesson there that people miss. The most dangerous time to take your medicine may not be morning or night. It may be whenever I happen to remember, because unpredictability destroys safe blood pressure management. Now think about what happens when patients react emotionally to numbers. Blood pressure is 162 one evening, so they move Losartan to bedtime. It's 148 the next morning, so they switch it back. A friend says Lisinopril works better at night, so they change again. An online comment says split amlodipine. They experiment, they improvise, they chase numbers with timing, and without understanding that single readings bounce for many reasons, and that medication timing changes should be deliberate, not impulsive. This is how people accidentally stack side effects, miss doses, or take 2 doses too close together. And that is why any conversation about the most dangerous time must include this warning. Changing timing on your own is one of the fastest ways to create a problem where none existed. Good treatment depends on a pattern. Once you start bouncing that pattern around, the numbers and symptoms stop making sense. Let me bring you back to the kind of patient who most often gets hurt by bedtime dosing. Not every patient, a specific patient. The older adult who wakes in the night, who already walks carefully, who has had one fall or near fall, who uses a cane, who takes a sleep aid, who has neuropathy, who drinks little water, who maybe takes a water pill earlier in the day, who gets dizzy standing up, who turns on no lights because they don't want to wake their spouse. For that person, a bedtime is not just another slot on the clock. It is a doorway into the most dangerous movement pattern of the day. Lie down, pressure settles, wake abruptly, stand fast, walk in darkness, turn, pivot, flush, rise from toilet, return to bed. That entire sequence can become harder and more hazardous if blood pressure is dropping at the same time, or if the medicine's most noticeable side effect is peaking there. But there is another group I worry about, and they are almost the mirror image. These are active patients who take their medicine in the morning and then head straight into a high-demand day. They shower hot, skip breakfast, mow the lawn, drive, shop, bend, lift, climb stairs, and wonder why they feel off. If they get dizzy with daytime dosing, moving the dose later may absolutely be reasonable under medical guidance because it shifts the body's adjustment period into quieter hours. So please hear me clearly. This video is not anti-bedtime and not pro-morning. It is anti-guessing. The most dangerous timing mistake is taking a timing strategy that belongs to somebody else and forcing it onto your own body without checking whether your daily life makes that timing safe. That is what harms people. Not the label morning or night by itself, but the mismatch between timing and reality. Let me tell you what doctors actually think about when we individualize timing. Because once you know this, the whole issue becomes much less mysterious. We look at whether you're starting the medicine or have been stable for years. We look at whether you feel dizzy already. We look at kidney function, other blood pressure medications, fluid status, alcohol use, and whether you take a diuretic. We ask if you wake up at night. We ask if you've fallen before. We ask if your home blood pressure rises more in the morning. We ask if you live alone. We ask when you are most likely to forget. We ask whether you are taking one pill or several. Those questions matter more than viral slogans. Because safe timing is not about sounding clever. It's about fitting the medicine into the least dangerous, most repeatable part of your actual life. Now let's get very practical. When might bedtime actually make sense for amlodipine, losartan, or lisinopril? It may make sense if you reliably sleep through the night, do not get up to urinate often, do not have a history of falls, and notice more dizziness or fatigue when the dose is taken during the day. It may make sense if your clinician is specifically trying to smooth overnight or early morning pressure patterns. It may make sense if bedtime is your strongest habit and therefore your most reliable reminder. In those cases, evening dosing can be perfectly appropriate. But even then, you should be cautious when first starting or increasing the dose. Stand slowly, hydrate appropriately, keep lights on, sit at the edge of the bed before walking, and do not assume that because bedtime worked for your neighbor, your body will automatically respond the same way. And when might morning make more sense? Morning may be wiser if you regularly wake in the night, if you've ever felt faint getting up from bed, if you use the bathroom 2 or 3 times overnight, if you're unsteady in dim light, if you already have low normal pressure, or if you live with a meaningful fall risk. Morning may also be preferable if taking the pill at night makes you anxious, restless, or less consistent. Some people simply do better when the dose is linked to breakfast, brushing teeth, or another fixed daytime routine. That matters because the best blood pressure medicine in the world cannot protect you if you keep forgetting it. Safety and adherence are inseparable. So if morning is the time you always remember and you tolerate it well, there is no medal for moving it to bedtime just because a headline somewhere made bedtime sound more sophisticated. There is one thing you must never do, and I need to say this as directly as possible. Do not change the timing of amlodipine, losartan, or lisinopril just because of one scary reading, one internet clip, one friend's advice, or one rough day. Timing changes should be thoughtful, not emotional. They should account for your symptoms, routine, and blood pressure pattern over time. And if you do change timing, do it in a way you can track. Check readings consistently. Notice dizziness. Notice nighttime bathroom trips. Notice fatigue. Notice near falls. Otherwise, you will never know whether the new timing helped, hurt, or simply confused the picture. Blood pressure treatment is not like changing the ringtone on your phone. Every adjustment changes how your body behaves across the next 24 hours. You owe yourself better than random experimentation. Now let me show you the danger of the catch-up dose, because people make this mistake constantly. They forget their morning Losartan, remember it at 5 p.m., take it, then take the next scheduled dose the following morning anyway, because they don't want to fall behind. Suddenly, the spacing between doses is much shorter than usual, and then they feel washed out, weak, or dizzy. They blame the medicine. No, they created a timing collision. The same thing happens with Lisinopril and Amlodipine. Missed doses lead to anxious decisions, and anxious decisions lead to overcorrection. Never double up or compress doses without specific instruction. If you are unsure what to do after missing a dose, follow the instructions you were given or call your pharmacist or doctor. Most serious timing problems are not caused by the drug behaving badly. They are caused by people panicking and turning a simple miss into an unsafe cluster. Another hidden trap is mixing blood pressure timing with alcohol. A person takes amlodipine or lisinopril after dinner, has wine, feels relaxed, falls asleep in a warm room, wakes dehydrated, and stands quickly. That combination can amplify lightheadedness, especially in older adults. Add diarrhea, poor intake, summer heat, or a recent illness, and the risk climbs even more. The medicine may be doing exactly what it's supposed to do, but the environment around it has changed. I have seen patients tolerate the same bedtime regimen for months and then suddenly have a miserable episode after a day of not eating enough, sweating in the yard, and drinking alcohol at night. They think the medicine turned on them. It didn't. Their volume status changed. This is why timing advice must always include context. Pills do not act in a vacuum. They act inside real human days. Let me pause here and tell you what symptoms should make you stop shrugging this off as just getting older. If after taking your medication, you repeatedly feel like you might black out, if your vision grays out when standing, if you have near falls, if you hit walls while walking at night, if you feel profound weakness that is new, if you have swelling that worsens dramatically, if you develop a severe persistent cough with lisinopril, or if your lips, face, or tongue swell. That is not something to casually ignore. Those are signals. Some are urgent signals. Timing may need to change, the dose may need to change, or the medication itself may need to change. Too many seniors try to be good patients by silently enduring symptoms. A truly good patient reports them, because your doctor cannot protect you from a pattern you never mention. There's another story I need to tell you, because it brings together everything we've been talking about. Josephine was 79, on amlodipine for years, stable, no major issues. Then Losartan was added. Her grandson told her nighttime was better for the heart, so she moved both medicines to bedtime. Within a week, she felt strange at dawn, shaky, floaty, weak in the legs. But she didn't connect it to the timing change because the symptoms happened hours after she took the pills. That's the trap, and I need you to catch it. Dangerous timing reactions are often delayed. People expect trouble the minute they swallow the tablet, but the real danger may show up at 2 a.m., 5 a.m., or when they rise in the morning. Josephine didn't realize that until she nearly fell while feeding the cat before sunrise. Her issue wasn't bad medicine. It was the wrong timing for two medicines together. So what is the most dangerous time to take amlodipine, Losartan, or lisinopril? We're close now, and the answer is both simpler and more important than people expect. The most dangerous time is the time that lines up with your highest fall risk, lowest hydration, poorest alertness, or weakest consistency. For many seniors, that means bedtime, specifically bedtime taken blindly, just because someone said nighttime is best. That is the danger zone I worry about most. Not because bedtime is universally wrong, but because bedtime is where reduced blood pressure can collide with darkness, sleepiness, bathroom trips, and sudden standing. And if you are starting the medicine, increasing the dose, or already prone to dizziness, that risk becomes even more significant. In older adults, one bad nighttime drop can do more damage than a month of mildly inconvenient daytime dizziness. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.